Napier Committee meeting for Thursday, 12th of September 2024. Could we all be standing for the opening karakia, please? Te taua
mai runga, tu taua mai raro, tu taua mai roto, tu taua mai waho. Kia tau ai te mauri tū, te mauri ora, ki te katoa, haumie, huie, tae kie.
Just reminding you that this meeting is live streamed on the City Council Facebook page. Apologies, I have one from Councillor Simpson. I think the rest of us are here. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Mawson, seconded Councillor Terryha. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Do we have any conflicts of interest? No. No public forum. Any announcements by the Mayor?
No.
None? Right. I have one announcement. I'd just like to thank Councillor Mawson for filling in for me while I went on holiday. And it's good to be back, but the word was you did a very good job and I should be very careful about my position. So thank you, Greg. Is there any matters of minor business?
Yes, I do. My minor matter is an update on Ocean Spa pricing charges. Thank you.
What is it? A bit more specific? You just...
We just want an update on the local. We gave a directive about local pricing.
Local pricing.
I can actually respond to that now,
Okay.
if that's easier. So yes, I have been liaising with Steve Gregory and Thunis regarding this, and we actually, myself and the two members that are on one of the review subcommittees, have an appointment within the next, I think it might be next week, to meet with Steve and Thunis and get an update on where they are up to with that. They have been reviewing other facilities around the country and been doing some analysis around our own costings and what that might look like. So as soon as we've had that meeting with them, we'll be able to do a wider update to all elected members.
Excellent. There was another issue around that same item, and that was apparently people who have full membership at Ocean Spa get a discount at the batch, but the over 65 members don't, and I was asked today why that was the case. So that's the other issue. I don't know if you've got any information on that, Madam Mayor.
So they're full members and over 65 and not getting a discount?
Full members get a discount on their coffee or their whatever they purchase at the batch, and over 65s don't.
That'll be a policy setting that currently we don't give over 65s discounts at the batch, I would imagine, and whereas the policy would be that we do for people who have full membership. If that's something that you would like us to consider, that would need to be considered as part of the fees and charges and a review that we did of that, which would likely be in next year's annual plan.
Thank you.
Does that cover what you...
I think so.
Okay then, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Wise. That was fantastic, pulling that straight away. Any announcements by management?
No.
Confirmation of minutes for the 1st of August 2024. I will move it, please. Councillor Mawson, Councillor Crystal. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Right, we move on to item 1, which is local water done well. And Andrew is going to give us a rundown. I think it's fair to say it's a moving target. And I think, is Louise here too?
She's online.
Oh, she's online.
Yep.
Okay. She might even have more of an update.
Yes, thank you. An informational paper that I'm happy to take as read on legislative update to local water done well. Understand that there's quite a bit of content with the attachments to this paper, so I have brought a brief presentation that kind of highlights some of the key topics of the legislation update, but also some of the policy announcement that came out on August 8th that will inform the last bill to be introduced in December of 2024. So quick summary, in February of 2024, the Water Services Act's Repeal Act was passed, and that just essentially repealed the previous government's Three Waters reform. September 3rd, 2024, the Local Government Water Services Preliminary Arrangements Bill was passed into legislation, and this really established the framework of the local water done well policy, and namely it sets out the requirements, time frame, and process for developing what's known as the Water Services Delivery Plan, which I'll touch on shortly. Then the final bill to be introduced in December is the Local Government Water Services Bill. And this is going to establish the enduring settings for the new water services system, new delivery models for water services, financing options to council, and future economic regulation. Passing and enactment of that bill is anticipated for mid-2025. So with the passing of Bill 2 and the clock ticking on a water services delivery plan, something that council is now in the process of drafting or developing, if you will. This is seen as a strategic decision-making tool where we consider our current status quo of water services to be able to compare it to future water services delivery models. So right now, the process is looking at our status quo. We're doing an assessment of our current delivery system to see what that might look like into the future. As well, we have to illustrate how we will be financially sustainable, and they have three metrics that they're going to gauge that on. It's revenue sufficiency, investment sufficiency, and financing sufficiency. So essentially, do you have enough revenue to cover the costs of your three water services? Do you have the required level of investment to meet regulatory standards? Are renewals outpacing your depreciation? And then finally, funding and financing sufficiency, which are you actually getting enough financing to cover your level of capital expenditure? As well, there's an issue of affordability. This hasn't been fully defined, but there's an international standard of, I believe it's 2.5% median household income for water charges, and they're going to be using that as a metric to gauge what your charging water services are. And these water services delivery plans can be joint or standalone. So we're obviously doing our assessment of our current status quo through the Regional Recovery Agency and the regional work that's being done at a regional level to inform what a potential Hawke's Bay entity could look like. So this is just a timeline of a water services delivery plan. So we're in that September window where really we're just in the inception of developing this plan, information gathering, looking at the status quo. Over the next 3 to 4 months, we'll start looking at some financial modeling, again, both as a standalone entity, but in that regional space. And then finally, in September of 2025 is when the plan has to be submitted. That will then be approved or not, where you'd have to make amendments. And within the water services delivery plan, you do have to have an implementation plan, which shows how you'll actually give effect to it. So just some key things, it has to be certified by the CE that this plan adheres to why the Act was set up. Then how that actually ties into the full legislation of local water done well. I guess if you look over the next 6 months, it's councils developing water services delivery plans. In conjunction as well, councils are anticipated to look at other delivery models while the third act is going through committee in anticipation of being legislated. And then finally, looking at economic regulation coming in towards the tail end of 2025 and potentially into 2026. This slide highlights some of that policy introduction that was made in regards to the third act to be introduced in December 2024. And these are 5 proposed delivery models set out by the DIA. They are willing to entertain other delivery models that councils or regions put forward, but these are the 5 that they have illustrated now. So your first option is your internal business unit or division. So that's essentially our status quo as it is. The second is a single council water CCO. The third being your multi-council or regional water services CCO. Then 4 and 5 are more of a mixed council or consumer trust model as well. With that comes some different financing options available to council. So for water services, council-controlled water organizations, that are backed by councils, the LGFA is willing to support up to 500% of debt to operating revenue. And that includes water services, CCOs that are owned by multiple councils. But you will have to meet certain credit criteria. That has not been formally made available, what that criteria will look like, but it will fall in line with what your revenue sufficiency looks like. And potentially if you are a credit-rated council or not. But again, those details are not known at this time. Other key parts of the policy include stormwater. So council retains legal responsibility and control of stormwater, but they have different ways of delivering that. So you can continue to deliver that in-house. You could contract the services to a CCO, or you could actually transfer aspects of the delivery, including assets, to the CCO. In our space, we are looking at modeling stormwater in council, stormwater in the CCO, stormwater in a stormwater out of the CCO retained at council, with water supply and waste being in the CCO. And that's also being done at the regional level as well. And then finally, just touching on economic regulation being implemented by the Commerce Commission and set to be active from 2026. They're going to be requiring information disclosure, setting revenue thresholds, requiring ring fencing of revenue. And that ring fencing would actually hold true if you kept your water services within council as well. And then quality standards and price quality regulation as well. So our next steps, so in-house, we're just going to complete that initial viability assessment of our current status quo and what a standalone delivery will look like. And we've set up a workshop with elected members on the 10th of October. And then regionally, there's the initial information request is underway, which is similar to what we've done in-house, but again, looking at that regional snapshot of it. And then they're shortly going to be commencing modeling of different scenarios and delivery models. And there's going to be quite, I think, a bit of discussion had to that at the Regional Collaboration Day, which is on the 30th of September. So happy to take questions. Again, appreciate I've included quite a bit of information in the attachments. But yeah, please.
Councillor Bowe.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, there was a heck of a lot of information, so I've got a few questions, and some of them may have been answered and they probably have been, but I just, for clarity's sake. Will the government be giving us any seed money to set up our delivery model? Do you know?
Through the chair, no, they will not.
Okay. With the water services strategy, is that just drinking water, or is it all three waters?
Through the water services delivery plan?
It says the water services strategy, which is mentioned somewhere. Strategy, water services strategy. I picked it up in one of these papers.
Yeah. So
councils will need to prepare a water services strategy. It's on page, what page is it? Page 23 of, can you answer that, Raphael?
Yeah, that'll be for all three services.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just a couple of other things. Are we likely to be adding charges for water? Is that part of the package, do you know? Adding charges to ratepayers?
I might be able to answer that, sorry. I don't know if you can see and hear me.
Yeah.
That the modelling has all yet to be done in terms of the financial impact of either or any of those models, and that will be part of council's decision when you compare the various different models. We put that to you. It's too early to say what the costs are likely to be, and we don't know yet what the price entry point would be if we went to a multi-organisational CCTO. So that's all to come, Councillor Bogue.
Okay. And just finally about stormwater, the plan that they're putting in place, is that going to affect our stormwater delivery as it now stands? Have we got any idea?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Oh, the way the stormwater is being looked at in this overall, on all these papers, is that very different from what we're already doing?
The no, it'd be, it'd be too early to assess that. Yeah, so there's different. The stormwater can be managed in different ways throughout those different models, and it's just, I think the statement from Andrew was around that through even the previous government's work in the water reform, there was a big piece of work around the how to around the rating and the income, and because a lot of the stormwater's managed through parcels of land which have a different use as well, and it's just sort of there was a lot of it wasn't as clear as like a water system where it's just a pipe. And so there's a bit of work in that space, and this is where the central government and the DIA have come to this conclusion. That's why it's still going to be a requirement of the local authority to be responsible for the stormwater, but you can, what they're suggesting, you can deliver it through different mechanisms, through contracting or still retaining it in-house. So, but yeah, through all of that though, we've yet to determine what that model is best for Napier. So just following on from that, does that mean that stormwater won't be included in a multi-council arrangement?
No, too early to say.
Too early to say, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for the paper and the update. It was really valuable. A couple of questions I just want to get it clear in my mind. So the legislation that's been passed and the plan legislation is going to introduce essentially two independent regulators to us, one economic and one, are we calling it regulatory or water quality? So Taumata Arawai and then the Commerce Commission, is that correct?
Yes, through the chair, that is correct. Taumata Arawai will remain as the quality compliance monitor, and then Commerce Commission is being set up as the economic regulator. Then I suppose, sorry, just back to Councillor Bowe, and what is in these fact sheets as well as what's proposed to be the policy and legislation as well. It still has to go through select committee, committee of the House as well. So there could be potential further changes to these policy settings prior to enactment in 2025.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, my second question, and this may be more directed at Louise or Russell, it seems to me if we're looking at September 25 as needing our plan submitted, it's kind of crunch time for making a decision around that model. I just wonder what sort of work, or are you able to step us through what that sort of decision pathway looks like for us? It's quite a short period of time. There's still a lot of unknowns, as we've heard at the moment, and of course we need to do that with our regional partners. So is there work being done on what that decision pathway looks like ahead of September 25?
So through the chair, I can answer that. Yes, there is. So the Regional Recovery Agency are holding the pen on this for us. We've initiated some work with Becca to understand our own financials, and there's work being done with PwC to understand what that looks like across the Hawke's Bay region. There's the Regional Collaboration Day on the 30th of this month, which I encourage all the elected members to come along to, and then that will talk you through where we've been, where we're at currently, and where we're likely to be in the future. And at some point, we'll also need to go out for public consultation on this. We were trying to get that done before Christmas, but it may go into the new year.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Louise, do we have like a firm date when we essentially need to make a decision by so that that plan can be formulated in time for September?
No, not at this stage. So there's two parts to it. The water services delivery plan is one thing, and we absolutely must meet those deadlines. In terms of, we need a direction or an intention to help inform that, because that will obviously depend whether we're keeping it in-house, single CCTO or multi-CCTO. But in terms of our modelling, we've put in a date of, I think it was 26, just for the financial modelling side. But any entity is going to take some time to set up. So the actual go live is going to be a number of years out from whatever date we do the modelling from.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Louise. Can I just understand that you spoke about the financials, we're talking around 2026 for that. I might have it wrong in my mind. I thought the presentation said we needed to make a decision on our model by September 25 to have it submitted.
Yeah, sorry, there's various different layers to this, as you can understand. There's some complexity. So yes, in terms of the water services work, so the water services plan has got a deadline, which that clock's now ticking. We only need an intention, but we're doing both of those modellings, so we're not waiting for either or. We are doing our own internal, what it would look like if Napier retained it or was a CCTO, which is the work that we're doing with Becca, and then which is coming to the workshop with elected members that Andrew spoke to, and then there's the work that's being done around what it would look like if we were a multi-council CCTO, which is the work that we're doing with PwC, and that's what we're going to talk to at the 30th. So as both of those streams are going, that information into the water services plan, both aspects and modelling will be available for that, and we'll be working through council on a process as to which direction you want to take, with the expectation that there will be community consultation either at the end of this year or next year. So yes, there will be a milestone. We don't know what time that milestone decision will be. So what we're doing is ensuring that you have all of the information to make a call as to which direction you want to go in, whilst enabling us to meet the deadline for the water services plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think I've got it straight in my mind, and that is that the water services plan is due in September 25, but some of those bigger decisions around the delivery model are not necessarily required at that stage. Is that correct?
No, through the chair, through the water services delivery plan, you should have the intent of what the delivery model will be. What Louise was alluding to, when we're looking at the financial modeling, they've set a hypothetical go live of July 1st, 2026, allowing for a 1-year transition period into what the new delivery model would be. But through the water services delivery plan, you have to outline what the proposed delivery model would be. So you would want to know if you're doing it standalone, single CCO, or the regional delivery model.
Thank you.
Can I have a follow-up question from the Deputy Mayor's questioning? So essentially, do we have an understanding of how long it will take us to develop the water services delivery plan? Because obviously that will set the latest date at which we need to have made a decision around the delivery model.
Yeah, that frameworks get set by DIA in terms of the timeline for the water services delivery plan.
I appreciate that, but for us to meet that timeline, when will we have needed to make a decision on the delivery model to give us time to prepare the delivery plan to meet the timeline?
But that's the work we're doing at the moment. So we don't know the final dates, but we know those key deadlines, which is what we're trying to align the internal work we're doing around with Becca versus the work that RRA are doing. So making sure that that's why we need to look at when we would be going to do community consultation, etc., so that all of us can meet the deadlines set by the DIA for the water services delivery plans. Because that's about having that intent. But then we'll have both sets of information, so depending on which way you go, it won't delay us making a decision.
Okay, so we're confident that if we were doing community consultation in February of next year, that we would be able to make a decision in time to enable council officers to prepare the water services delivery plan in time.
At the moment we are working on 2 different plans.
Yeah, so the plans are actually already being worked on for the 2 different pathways?
So that will be what the LPP, that's what the modelling that Becca's doing for us and the modelling that PwC are doing for us.
Okay, sorry, through the chair, just to tease that out a little bit more. I thought the modelling was around the financial analysis, not the actual preparation of the water services delivery plan.
So there's parts of both. Most of it's based on our long-term plan or our 3-year plans in terms of asset investment. So that will be the same in both cases. One's consolidated and one would be left individually. And then the financial modelling is the additional piece that will also help inform the water services delivery plan, because it's based on the 3-year plans or LTPs, as well as that decision with your community. So we were just trying to do belt and braces in that we need all of the information so that we're in a position to go either direction.
Okay, thank you. So I guess through the chair, just confirming that we're confident that we're tracking along well and that we will be able to meet that delivery deadline of September 2025 for the water services delivery plan.
That's correct, yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Brown and then Councillor Crown.
Yeah, kia ora through the chair. Thank you for all the information. Just picking up on some of the things that have been said around the delivery model. So the government have given us 5 different delivery models here, and the way we're talking, it sounds like we're only looking at numbers 2 and 3. Have we already discounted 4 and 5, or when do we have that conversation? Where does that fit in the process?
So through the chair, 1 is also an option. So it's 1, 2 or 3 are the ones that we're working on, simply because the Hawke's Bay model was based on
3.
I guess those based more largely on 3, although it is quite different under the CCTO, plus 1 and 2, which is 2 is new, so the creation of a CCTO internally with obviously increased debt ceiling, or keeping it in-house. So effectively at the moment, yes, 4 and 5 have been discounted, but that's why that's part of the conversation that we'll be having at the regional collaboration day on the 30th.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Crown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the previous question askers too. I was a little bit confused around what our, I guess I'm looking for a little bit more detail rather than the high-level timeline that's in here. Helpful, but just getting our head around the level and the different types of information that have been prepared for us at this stage before we're able to move on. I've got a little bit of a simpler question, and it's about the work that's being done at the moment. Is this having any impact on our delivery of our 3-year plan, given the resource that is required to undertake these investigations and review?
No, Andrew's been working on this as a direct function of his role, and so we've assigned his role specifically for this. So there are still a lot of information gathering that the water team and the finance team need to supply, but and it does, it poses, there's a few tasks, but no, it's not impacting on that 3-year plan. So
Cool, thank you.
So we'll keep updates coming at our next meeting so that we can, I think when you sit around and the questions we've just gone through, I think there's a little bit of, I don't know if you'd say confusion, but it's not
Clarification.
yeah, it's not as clear as one would like it. Councillor Gregg.
Yes, through the chair. My question is about staffing and capability. So with the new future water services system delivery, will we need to recruit extra staff for that? Do we have an idea?
Through the chair, we haven't looked at, I guess, staffing or resourcing for a new entity at this stage. Again, work to date has been focused on the financial modeling to see from, it's called an economics perspective, which delivery model would be the preferred option.
Through the chair, you may find, so in terms of depending on which delivery model that you decide to progress, either of the CCTO elements would see the creation of effectively a separate entity, and so therefore staff that we have now, many would transfer into that entity. So you'd see a reduction in direct council employees, But the challenge that will then leave us is the allocation of corporate overheads. So because we would have less staff, so that would then would lead us to need to look at those internal functions as well.
I just spoke to Russell, and they will develop a simple timeline and send it to us. So we'll put that down as an action point, which I think might just help everything from what I hear. Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor McGrath.
Yeah. Just through the chair, and just picking up on a point you made earlier on about affordability being set at 2.5% of household income, that's correct? Yeah.
Through the chair,
Or
that's
that's a matrix that's out there?
Yep.
Yep. Does that include all three waters with stormwater in there, or just drinking water and sewerage?
through the chair, that was all three, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Andrew mentioned upcoming legislation, that the legislation hasn't been completely completed yet, and the select committee process. Are we going to be making submissions in the select committee process, and if so, how is that going to be managed with us?
Louise or Russell?
Yeah, the submissions on legislation are managed through our governance team. So, and yeah, there is a process that comes through. So, when we get notified of when they're ready for, I guess, for review and the submission process to happen. So we'll be monitoring that and be looking at those areas that we feel that Napier should be submitting on, and we can circulate that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions? Do I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Mawson, second by Councillor Wise. Councillor, you were once.
Was one.
Mayor Wise.
Yeah, just a great report in the sense that it's pretty much a one-stop shop for everything that's going on right now. I know there are some things that need to be answered by the government, which will come in due course. But yeah, great paper. Thank you.
Thank you, through the chair. Just acknowledging that this is an incredibly complex piece of work with many, many layers and many decisions yet to be made.
Yeah.
It's very early on in the process, and I know council officers are working very hard towards unpicking all this and providing us with the information that we will need as governors to make an informed decision at some stage next year, and of course ensuring that our community actually understands exactly what's happening as well, because there's a lot to this. So thank you to all the council officers who have been involved to date, and looking forward to progressing through this over the next 12 months.
Any other comments? I do think the idea of what we talked about, a timeline, will actually probably answer a few questions or create some, but a logical thing. So if that's all the comments, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Well done, Andrew.
Thank you.
We're going to call you Bobby Bouget now. The water boy. Right, item 2, the capital plan delivery, and Russell's going to present that.
Yes, thank you. So continuation, the capital delivery plan update. Part of this report, you'll see I've tabled another document to go to this. It just wasn't available. It's hot off the press as of yesterday afternoon. So, but what I wanted to do is just take you through some of the changes that have particularly been happening. I'm happy to talk about some of the projects in the report if you feel. Sorry.
It's on the hub if anyone wants.
Oh, it's on the hub. Yes, sorry. Talk about some of the projects. I just wanted to talk about the programming changes, the business process changes, and really highlight some of the work that's been changing with the staff and our reporting, and with Bruce starting with and leading our EPMO work. We're starting to see a few improvements, which is really good, and I just wanted to highlight this with some of the other reports. So we've got the traditional RAG, or red, amber, green report that we've traditionally had throughout the year. and it's just a high-level sort of dashboard on those key projects. The next one on 79, which was really looking at a particular, we started bundling up work to look at how we could manage some of these work packages more efficiently. And we've got one here, like the Water Supply Master Plan. We started to, there were quite a lot of projects sitting under this piece of work, and we were trying to coordinate the timing of some of these jobs, and where we had more investigation work, it was sort of just putting a bit of tension on the timing of the project and the resources. So the team have developed this, it's a work package of the Water Master Plan, and this is a report that Becca have been developing, and this is how we've been managing that work to how it influences the budget, and also how we then talk to some of our resources in the market in the construction industry. So it provides a lot of detail sort of conversation, and so that we're not sort of I guess chasing our tail on some projects and not getting them out of sequence. So and the dashboard is the one that I tabled, is where we've been looking at where we roll up these tasks, these work packages into a program under the water activity itself. So this is looking at the 3 waters, and so this is where we're talking, we're having these conversations at a sort of a portfolio level to make sure that you know, we're not we've got the right resources in the right time. Where we're seeing some risks in our market, we start talking to our suppliers to see, you know, trying to get the market ready for our work coming, and we start to see some of those patterns and influence where we might be having resource issues, or if it's a budget constraint and we're trying to manage with other activities across council, we can start pulling those levers and manage that across the organisation. So this is and this work here is what we how we feed this information into the EPMO, and how we can help with that further larger council reporting and management of our work program. So I'm happy to take some questions, whether they be it on just on some of the work we're doing, or the projects themselves.
Councillor Greg.
Oh, yes, through the chair. Just a question about the Veronica Sunbay remedial project. I know it says on the report to be confirmed for time frame, but do we have a ballpark figure? Is it like months or weeks, or? It's got a lot of public interest in.
Yes, I can understand. Yeah,
Thanks.
sorry, I don't have that with me. I can circulate that. Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
According to Hugh, it's December. It's being finished.
Thank you. Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rosner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Congratulations on this. It's great to have a dashboard presented in this way. I find it really valuable. And also congratulations on, I see out of your spend, in particular around the 3 waters, one of those is tracking above capital plan, which is, I think, the first time I've seen that, so congratulations on that. My question is for the other 2. Are you expecting to see an increase in that spend up to our projected line? And subsequent to that, my second question is, are you able to give us some comment on how you're being involved in the EPMO development, and whether or not you see the project management work that we're doing as a business having an impact materially on the delivery of capital spend?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
So yeah, just on the financial or the progress on those other services, it is a lot of it's to do with profiling of the work. So just looking at the timing of when things come to the market, and we do have a lot of work in the pipeline as such, and so the actual spend through the construction period won't follow that straight line. So that's something we've identified with the teams, is to get better forecasting to give an indication of our spend profile, because that's going to help with our resourcing when we see things in the market, and making sure that the market's capable of supporting that. So, and as to the feeding into the EPMO, it's the work so far has been very good. It's helping focus the team a lot more, and we're it's a lot of the work is around those business processes and helping support the team to really focus and deliver more on that workflow through the organisation. So I think it's we're definitely seeing the benefits, and it's only been how long's it been? 4 weeks. There you go. So it's been fantastic. Rachel, if you wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Just to add to that, the EPMO is only been 4 weeks, and it's one person, and that's Bruce Lake, who's over in the middle there, so I thought I might introduce him while he's here. And he's coming to, not Future Napier today, but the next Future Napier. He's preparing a report for you on how the EPMO is establishing, how they're tracking, what work they're getting into, and you'll get a real sense of what the EPMO will do for the organisation and how it will connect with all of the delivery arms that we have, not just in the infrastructure area, but in our digital strategy and our transformation projects and some of that other work as well. So that's coming. But in the meantime, please, make yourself available to Bruce or introduce yourself, and you're welcome to contact him for anything that you would like to ask.
Deputy Mayor Brosnan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great, and welcome, Bruce, to the team. My last one, if that's all right with you, is more of a comment, Mr. Chair, discussion.
Well, we're not there yet.
Questions?
Is there any more questions? No? We'll open up for comments.
All right, just by way of discussion, I just note that you've got the fast track of the 4-lane expressway on your looking forward section of the report. And under the risk area, you identified, I think rightly, the potential impact on our stormwater assets in that area. I just wanted to make the comment that obviously we have a big program of work associated with the Ahuriri Regional Park stormwater treatment sort of system, and perhaps there was an opportunity there for them to contribute to some of the costs of getting the stormwater into the park if they are mucking around with those assets anyway in the 4-laning. So I had that comment to make, and secondly, along that same project line, I understand when you're talking about risk, it's primarily to the assets, but I would just like to highlight, I think there's a huge environmental risk to be managed in the 4-laning of the expressway around the estuary itself. So I'm not sure if this is the appropriate place for that, but under the risk management section, when I think about that project, I think that's one that sits quite highly. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good point. Perhaps a long shot with some of it.
Russell's welcome to respond.
Yeah, so no, I totally agree with those comments. We're treating the 4-laning very much like our developer interface. So we've got a key account manager liaising with that project. Because there are so many things that project is going to touch on, in terms of the stormwater activity, the property boundary issues, and just like rightly so with the environmental impact. So with regards to the comment on here, this was solely the focus was around the water activities, and that was a potential risk to the program delivery. So those other risks have been identified through that key account manager process, and we are looking at those, I guess, opportunities for mutual benefit where the assets might, if we do need some alteration and they do clash, then we can share in that benefit for any work needed to be done. So. Yep.
That gives me a lot of comfort. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Crown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I ask about a project that perhaps isn't covered in the list?
Certainly.
Thank you.
There may be some that we need to add. That was something we've we're a work in progress.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that, acknowledging what others have said as well, I think it's a great improvement, the reporting of this at the moment, so thank you to everyone involved. And so this project, I've noticed, has quite a bit of public interest, and I'm not sure as to the reason for it or what it's called officially, but there seems to be a bit of work going on at Lagoon Farm. Residents in that area, especially around Orotu Drive, seem to be commenting quite frequently on social media about what's happening, why can't I find any information? So I just thought I'd take the opportunity to ask on their behalf.
Yeah, no problem. That I believe that piece of work is some preliminary works that the team are doing. They're looking at some geotech work, so they've put in some piezometers and done some small drilling, looking at its preliminary investigation for the regional park work and the Lagoon Farm stormwater diversion project. So they're trying to understand just what's going on in there and what's might needed in terms of any remedial work before they start doing construction for the Lagoon Farm storage project. So it's early days in that sense, I guess, but it's given that I guess we're doing some work in and around that area, I would take that. I note that we possibly should improve maybe some comms in that space. So noted. So
cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any other comments? Do I have a mover and seconder for the officer's recommendation, please? Councillor Gregg and Councillor Mawson. Do you want to speak? Okay. All those in favour of the officer's recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. I'll now adjourn the Sustainable Napier meeting and 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
2 minutes and